So it's just paper. You slide them together and you turn and they hang.
Do it again, do it again.
Slide it together, turn, and it hangs.
Do it again, do it again.
Seriously?
What? Hi, and welcome to Crafts by Two. I'm George.
And I'm Ken. And in this episode, we're showing you how to make paper garlands. And they hang together, and it's just paper. No string, no glue, no adhesive.
And it's paper, not Ian Garland, paper.
So I'm going to walk you through in Design Space and show you how you can take any shape. I did circles for the basic, but you saw I did George's name in letters.
Any shape?
Any shape. And you just use a little notch with the end, and they just twist and notch together.
And then gravity holds them in. You know what these would be great for, Ken? The background of a photo booth.
Yeah, you could do a garland down the side.
Not Ian, paper.
So it's really simple to set these up in Design Space. So first I'm going to show you how to do the circles and just make the basic garland shape. And then I show you how to do the name garland, just to make it clear that you can do any shape. So just like all of our other how-tos, we have a document to go along with it, instructions, the how-to. So watch our video to learn how to do it, but then you can use our instructions to follow along when you're doing it on your own.
And we're even giving everyone the circle garland. Then for our Patreons, we have all the Cricut basic shapes made into garland.
We did it for you, and these are the free files in Design Space, so anybody can use them. You don't have to have this cartridge. It's part of your account already.
So if you're not already a Patreon supporter of Crafts by Two, check for the link below, and you can see how you can become one.
Here we are in Design Space. The first time I'm going to show you how you can use any shape, and I'm just going to use a circle, and make these kind of notched garlands. It's very simple and quick. I'm going to go to Insert Images, and I'm going to use the free Cricut images. So I'm searching on Cricut and Cricut Craft Room Basic Shapes. And I'm going to use the circle and one of the note cards. I don't like playing with the shadows around, so I'm just going to ungroup these. And then delete the shadows. And it has to be visible, so you can delete it. Now, I'm going to do just the circles as my main shape for this demo. So what I'm going to need is 3 circles. And 2 of the rectangles. So I'm just duplicating those, selecting them, and duplicating them on the layers panel. For my main shape, I'm going to use one of the circles. Oops. And so I'm going to select one, edit it, and I'm going to make it 3 inches. And now for the kind of strips and the notch, I need to size those. So for the strip, which is going to be the long part, you want the end of the notch to be a little bit wider. So I'm going to make these 0.4. And you want to make sure the lock's on to keep these scaled for the circles. And then for the strip, I'm going to turn the lock off because I want to make the sizes different than proportional. So for the height, I'm going with 1/4 of an inch. And then for the width, I'm doing 1.5 inch. So this is going to become the strip that goes between each of the circles. You can make the strip a little bit longer if you like. 1.5 inch works for me for kind of a closely packed garland, but if you want them a little further spaced apart, you can make this a little bit longer. Just keep in mind that this is just paper, so if you're using cardstock, you can probably go up to like 2 or 3 inches, but the paper's just going to bend and warp under the weight of the other paper. So that's why I'm just going with 1.5 inch for my work. Now for the notch, the circle needs to be the same width as your strip. So since I made this 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to select this circle and make it 1/4 of an inch. And this rectangle, again, I'm turning off the lock so I can adjust them independently. For the height, I'm just going with 1/10 of an inch because it just needs to be a little bit of a notch for the paper to get into. And then the width, I'm just going to do 1 inch. I just need some space to work with. It doesn't have to be perfect. So now we have all the pieces ready to go. The first thing we're going to do is the slicing portion. You can't slice welded shapes, so we want to take care of all the slicing first. So I'm going to bring the circle over, and you want it close to the edge. And there's no alignment or distribution in Design Space yet, so I just kind of switch back and forth by clicking and looking where the center marker is, and then just adjusting it a little to kind of eyeball it to get a feel if that's centered appropriately. So now with that in place, I click on one and then shift click on the other, holding the shift key on the keyboard to select both, and then I do slice. And it's done, and I don't need this piece anymore, so I'm just getting rid of it. Now I just bring over the notch and line that up. So that looks good. So again, I select the one piece, shift click on the other piece, and then slice. I find it easier just to kind of pull everything away and then just lasso all this junk that's left over, because all we need is that notch. Now welding, we can do all at once, so I can just bring these over, again just kind of eyeballing it. I just want things to overlap just enough to give a nice complete shape. It's not rocket science. And that all looks lined up, so I select all my pieces and do weld, and that's it. So that's pretty simple. Now I can go ahead and cut this and make as many copies as I want. Remember, if you're doing multiple papers, you don't necessarily have to make one of these in each color for the paper. I could just do this and repeat the cut, or the little trick is I could click go, and then on my Explore, all I have to do is unload the page when it's done, and load the page back in, and click the Cricut button again to cut another set of this mat. So as long as you don't click finish down here, you can just unload the mat, reload it with new paper, and press the Cricut button to cut that same mat again. That way I could do one page of 6 with one color, unload that, put a new piece of paper down, load it back in with a different color paper, and press the Cricut button and cut a whole another 6 of those. Makes it a lot easier when you're doing multiple jobs like this. Now I'm going to show you quickly how to put it together. Here we are with the basic circles that I cut out, and I used a double-sided paper so I can alternate it for kind of an interesting effect. And this is one of the papers from close to my heart. And I'm just going to select the busier side first for the ones that look cool, and then I'll just use the plainer side for the other ones. And these are just really simple to put together. So you just take a part and you want to decide which is going to be kind of the back side. So I want this to be in the front, so I want the notch to go behind. So you'll just kind of slide it in to the notch and then just make sure that it comes through that hole and it notches together very securely. So I want the tab to be in the back, so I put that through and just bring it down. So again, bringing it in sideways, just getting it turned in that notch. Oops. Other design. And there you go. Oops. And it does hold together relatively well, so there's the notches on the back and the garland up front. In the first part, I showed you how to make this basic shape with just the circle and adding the notches and the tabs to make a garland, and I just want to point out that you can do any kind of shape. So hearts, butterflies, the baby onesie, the rubber duck, as long as you're making the items the same size. So the strips are the strips are a quarter of an inch, and my notch is a quarter of an inch on both pieces. These could even be notched together. So that would just notch together like that. So you can create kind of really fun garlands just using a variety of shapes or a variety of papers with the same shapes. And I've made them all horizontal so far, but I'm going to walk you through doing it vertically. It's not that radically different. And I'm going to show you doing text with somebody's name to kind of make a strip that will hang down spelling out somebody's name. So let me clear out these. And I kept my little parts so I can easily duplicate these. Oops, I had some shadows left over here. So let's add some text. And I'm going to do George. And I want a chunkier font than this. So I'm switching to my Cricut fonts. And I'm going to do the Don Juan font. I kind of liked that one. That one. So this one is nice and chunky and will be good for what we're going to do here. And I'm going to ungroup and get rid of this shadow layer. And now I'm going to ungroup the letters because I want to work with them individually. But I'm selecting them and setting the size. Again, I'm going to work with the 3 inches. So I'm making them 3 inches tall. And there's my letters. So let's start working with these. First I'm going to select these, and I want to rotate them 90 degrees. And I could have done this using the little rotate tab, but it was just easier to select them and type it right in on the edit panel. Oops, I wanted those selected still. And I don't need the edit panel anymore. And I'm going to duplicate these. It's just easier to keep these to work from and duplicate a set to work with. So, this is actually going to be the first letter. So for that, I just want to strip at the top to kind of, tack it to the wall or hang it up with. So I don't need to create a notch at the top because this is the first letter. So I'm just going to take an extra strip and duplicate this on the layers panel and bring this over. Again, I'm just using that crosshairs when I select the larger piece to try to line things up so it's centered and it hangs well. And then at the bottom, I do need a strip, so I just bring this over. Line those up. And then again, holding Shift on the keyboard, I'm selecting the larger letter and then the strip and coming over to the layers and doing weld. So there's that first letter. So I'm just gonna select these, my work pieces, and duplicate them. And now for the E, I do need the notch. So I'm just gonna bring this over. And a little cheat here with the centering is I can use the rotation handle to kind of judge where I'm centered. So that looks good. So for the slicing, I can only do the 2 parts at a time, so I select one part, Shift, click the letter, and slice. Get rid of the part I don't need. Now select the other part, Shift, click the letter, and slice. And it's easier just to get these out of the way and delete the parts I don't need. Now I can bring the tab over and use my little cheat. Wow, looks like I nailed it that time. So I select all 3 parts and weld. So I'm going to go through quickly for the other parts and then talk a little bit about the last letter. Now with this last piece, I don't need to duplicate my working pieces because I'm done, but I don't need a strip for the bottom, so I can get rid of that. I just need a notch. So there's all my pieces. Now, if there's repeating letters in the name, you could save yourself some time and just work on the one letter and then duplicate it in your piece. So for example, if I had E's that would connect together, I could just select that E and duplicate it to have an extra one. But in this case, all the letters were just a little bit different, because the first G, we had that extra tab at the top instead of a notch, and then the E, one E needed to connect, but the other E didn't. So you just need to kind of think of how things are going to play out. Now with the other design, with the circles, I showed how you could use dual-sided paper and just flip it, kind of alternating to get a cool look. With the letters, they all need to face a certain way, so you can't just flip those to get a different side. So you'll notice I've got these just a little bit different. So I could come over to sync and make them all one color. There we go. If I wanted to use all the same paper, or I could just alternate the colors myself. So I could do, some in blue and some in red. Just setting that up myself on the layers and changing the colors. So for those shapes that aren't really generic enough, symmetrical enough that you can just flip them, you want to make sure you have your plan set out for your paper ahead of time before you go and cut it. So now I'm going to go cut this and put it together really quickly. Here are the letters that I cut out, and I'm just going to kind of put them in order. And just remember that some of them have to be in a specific order. This one has the tab just to hang from at the start, and then the E at the end doesn't have a tab at all because it doesn't need one. For the letters, anything you're doing vertical, I recommend starting at the bottom, just because the tension will kind of draw them together a little better as you're working. So again, I want the tab in the back, so I bring it into the notch and then just give it a little tug. Now this one might be hard to see in the recording. I think I might have not given quite enough of an edge here to give this enough strength to hold on to the notch, but I'm going to give it a try. It's holding pretty good. And there you go. George.
Wow, Ken, that was pretty easy. And I like that you did my name.
Of course I did your name.
Ken's too short.
For a demonstration, yeah.
So if you found this video entertaining or informative, give us a thumbs up and subscribe.
You can subscribe using that icon up over there.
There's no icon over there.
It'll be there later in post.
Oh. There's a post?
We also like to hear from you, so please leave a comment below. And if you make your own garlands using different shapes and styles, we'd love to see them. Send us your photos.
So Ken, now that I'm feeling a little bit better, until next Tuesday, we'll talk to you later. Bye!
Bye. Slide it together. So it's just paper. You slide them together.
And then for our Patreons, we have I was going to say buttload more.
There's a big thick piece of wood.